In the comment sections below our videos about the history of Battlefield, some viewers suggested to take a closer look at the Battlefield mod Forgotten Hope 2. And since we here at ESCalation are big fans of modding, we did so. So welcome to a detour episode of the history of Battlefield. First of all, what is Forgotten Hope 2? The Battlefield modification Forgotten Hope 2 is, like the name suggests, the successor of the Battlefield 1942 mod Forgotten Hope, which aimed to create a realistic World War II experience with tons of more content added to the original game. I would put realistic in quotation marks because it can't compete against mods like Project Reality or games like Operation Flashpoint. But compared to the vanilla Battlefield, it is a realistic or hardcore shooter. And even though it might have gotten overtaken by more realistic and more recent games, this still doesn't mean it is a bad mod. On the contrary, it is amazing. After I downloaded the client and watched the 3 tutorial videos, I jumped right into the action, and well, bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor. What I was trying to say here, I died a lot. A whole lot. But that's okay, because after a few rounds, yes, rounds, not minutes, I got used to the gameplay and I got some nice kills. I was a bit overwhelmed at first, yet I understood very quickly that I can't just run out straight into the action, jump and shoot around in Forgotten Hope 2. And I don't mean the jumping and shooting from modern games, no, I mean the running and jumping from Battlefield 2. Forgotten Hope 2 punishes you pretty quick and severely for stupid actions, because you die almost instantaneously from one good hit, especially from bolt-action rifles. Adding to that a lack of medics, there's no one to revive you and the maps are freaking huge. Which is something I love, since it makes the fight way more intense. Not in a sense that there's crazy CQB going on, no, in a sense that you are always on edge, because with one well-placed machine gun or one good sniper, you can hold an entire sector, forcing the enemy team to change their route, adapt, flank, and most importantly, play as a team to overcome well-entrenched opposition. Teamplay isn't a gimmick like in modern battlefields, it is crucial for survival and winning. But you don't get flashy point rewards. Your comrade in the voice chat thanking you for saving his ass is the best reward you can get, trust me. A friend slapping you on the shoulder saying, "Well done," is way better than any point reward or flashy achievement. The gameplay is way more basic and old school. Like I said, there are no medics, no team features like in Battlefield 5, and many special classes like the sniper, machine gunner and anti-tank classes, they have restrictions. So how can teamplay be crucial or even mandatory? Because otherwise, you're not going to win. They have something that Battlefield 5 does not. They can rely on a very dedicated community. So the players you find on these servers are really fans of the game and enjoy the genre. That means they play the game as it was meant to be played, as a team. There is no need to incentivize or even force teamplay on the players, because they will just do it out of the kindness of their hearts, because they enjoy this style of gameplay. This is sadly something that you cannot do with mainstream games anymore. Back in the day, it sometimes worked, but the bigger the community, the more dickheads you get, and gameplay that relies on cooperation is hard to facilitate in a gigantic community. But let us get back from this side tangent to the topic of restricted classes and why they even exist. To keep the realism, basically. You will hardly find an infantry unit made up entirely of snipers or anti-tank soldiers or machine gunners. Think back, sniper rifles and automatic guns were a rarity back then. The training for these troops, the production of the guns and the supply took time and was expensive. The majority of combat was going on with bolt-action rifles, or semi-auto at best. Yes, there were assault rifles, but later in the war. Usually a squad consisted of men armed with Lee Enfield rifles and only one single support gunner with a Bren gun, bar, or in the case of the Germans an MG34. With that in mind, think of the applications for these specialized classes in regards to teamplay. There are only a few locations on the map for these roles, but in the right hand, these classes turn into killing machines. A particularly well-placed machine gunner can force a smile out of every devastator space marine. A squad with a machine gun should be utilized to lay down and hold a sector, or provide cover fire for the rest of the team while they flank the enemy. And even though you can shoot down planes with your machine gun, waving it around wildly, running and spraying down the enemy will do no good in this game. But what about the enemy response to a machine gunner? If they have a sniper, or anyone with marksman skills, he can move up and take out the machine gunner. and with it, the cover it provides for the approaching enemy. Grenades are also a viable option, but you have to get close, which makes you easily spottable, and with that, usually a dead man. So let's say the defending team has a tank, which takes down the attackers and forces the covering machine gun to retreat. Now the anti-tank soldier has to come up and attempt to destroy the vehicle, but until he has the anti-tank rifle in position, he is vulnerable to enemy infantry. He could shoot his big anti-tank rifle at them, it sure makes a big hole into every man, but then again, the ammo is rare. It would be a waste of resources and would reveal his position to the enemy tank, so the team has to defend him while he takes on the vehicle. Some of you will say, hey, this is possible in the modern Battlefield too. Yes, and that is technically correct. Yet, it is not required to win, because everyone has the means to do everything. In Forgotten Hope 2, auto-heal does not exist, and not every player has anti-tank weapons. There is no modern 3D spotting, no infinite running, and the weapons deal way more damage. A good shot in Forgotten Hope 2 is deadly. In modern Battlefield, I run around after a few hits, laughing, and simply use my medipack. I'm not saying that it makes for bad gameplay or it's not fun, I'm just pointing out Forgotten Hope 2 has a more realistic approach to the World War II scenario. And while we are at it, comparing Battlefield 5 to Forgotten Hope 2, which is a one-sided battle in the visual department, they are content-wise both very comparable. Battlefield 5 has been sold to us with the Games as a Service model, promising more content post-launch. Something that the hobby developers behind Forgotten Hope 2 can confidently say they delivered, and for free even. When it comes to support for their mod, they have a formidable track record. The modders are still providing free content years after the launch, and just recently in October of 2018, they introduced the Polish army alongside new maps, tanks and equipment. This is something that sets Forgotten Hope 2 apart from many other mainstream games. They introduced factions to the game that we usually do not see, and these are not merely skins, they come with their own unique sounds and animations. We have the classic nations like Nazi Germany, the United States of America, Great Britain and the Soviet Union, but also Canada, Italy, New Zealand, the aforementioned Poland, Australia and Finland. Yes, frickin' Finland. Which AAA game has Finland as a faction in a World War II game? On the top of my head, I cannot think of a single first-person shooter. To this date, Forgotten Hope 2 includes 49 maps, all of them based on real battles, and the devs try their best to make them as realistic and historically accurate as they can with their limited resources. Sadly, a lot of the forum posts are so old that the linked photos are gone, but as the developers told us, they were working with historical references from the very beginning. There are three big categories for the maps: Western, Eastern and Africa Front, each with their respective battles. Something that even the Forgotten Hope developers have not touched on is the war in the Pacific and Asian territories. On the Western Front, we have battles like Omaha Beach, Pointe du Hoc and Bastogne, which are well-known battles, but also smaller or lesser-known battles have been rebuilt. Battles like Mount Olympus or Saint-Lô, the latter one something I only know thanks to Company of Heroes. On the Eastern Front, we have maps like Lenino or Studinka, and in Africa, El Alamein or the battle for Alam el Halfa. In addition to all that attention to detail that we already pointed out, there is one thing that many games overlook, and that is putting everything into the correct time frame, meaning appropriate equipment for the fighting troops. On maps like Mount Olymp, which took place in 1941, you won't find players with an MP44 or with a single Panzerfaust 60. Only weapons and equipment that are appropriate for the time and place are being used there. A significant factor for realism that many other games choose to ignore, even if they try to paint themselves as realistic. Battlefield 5. Unlike in a certain recently released Battlefield game, you will only find a Panzer II lurking on Mount Olymp. For big tank clashes, you will have to check maps like Seelow Heights, a battle which took place on the 16th of April 1945. Tiger II tanks, aka King Tiger, clashing with Soviet tank formations armed with T-34-85s. A realistic scenario for a tank battle. Contrast that to Battlefield 5, where you have Tiger Is or even a Sturmtiger clashing with British Churchill tanks in Norway, which is very accurate indeed. The developers created a huge amount of content over the years. A lot of hard work, passion, sweat and tears have been put into this mod. The mod is fantastic. It gives you a lot of things to explore and fun for hundreds of hours. If you like older games, have an interest in the Second World War, and have no problem that the mod is a bit clunky at times, as mods tend to be, and you own a copy of Battlefield 2, then download this mod and play it. Because unlike many other mods, this one has an active community. It does support bots for training matches, but for the real fun, go and join a server. Especially the European servers are full in the evenings. You will find at least one server with often up to 100 players. For this video, we even have supplementary material. In the video description, you will find a link to an interview we did with one of the game's developers. If you would like to get some further insights into the topic, you may want to check it out. It is posted on our Patreon page, but you can access it for free. In addition to the link to the interview, you will find their mod page in the description down below as well. In case you enjoy what these guys are doing, they do accept donations to keep their servers running. So you might want to consider supporting them. Or support us, as our Patreons, who I am tremendously grateful to, get access to all our content first. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, check out the other episodes of the history of Battlefield. So, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.